right, good morning, everybody. Today we are going to be making we're going to continue in our watercolor study, and we are going to be making some wintry Christmas scenes. So what we're going to start off with first is we're going to make a Christmas church, a Christmas looking church. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your paper. Once again, you're always going to put your name in the corner first. So you're going to write your name down in the lower right side, right where every artist puts their name first, so you don't forget whose paper is whose. And then what you're going to do is we'll start with the horizon line. So you can start off with a blue or a brown if you'd like. I recommend starting with blue because we're going to make it a snowy winter scene. So you're going to get some blue like this across. We're going to make very, very lightly. That's even a little bit too dark. But we're going to make some hills here. So I'm going to make a couple different rows and lines because this is going to be our hills. You're going to want it to be a little bit lighter than that. I did it too dark. But so you can add in some water. Oh, my water's a little green. Okay. Then we're going to make a light gray. So to make a gray, you can use in the side tray here, you can make a real light gray with just a tiny bit of black and then more water. So real lightly, you're gonna have a light gray, and we're gonna make our little church. Oh, it's a little too wet. You might wanna let it dry a little bit or maybe not use as much water as I did. But we're gonna start like this. And we're gonna make our little steeple. I'll bring a bunch of different examples of pictures of different churches that you'll be able to use. So don't worry if you don't remember what this looks like, but we're gonna it's gonna look like a little mountain chapel. I know everybody's church probably looks different, but this one we're just gonna do with the stereotypical mountain chapel. I'm gonna try to blend this in here. So since this is all still wet, we're gonna just use this as part of our shading. But that's why you wanna keep it real light and thin so you don't have a mess up like that and where there's too much water and then it gets all everywhere. Watercolor is all about being patient. So you take your time, you go slow, and then you're gonna add in the details. Okay. So very, very lightly, we're gonna add in some snow lines. You don't wanna make it look too dark because then it's gonna look not like snow. You're gonna wanna leave a lot more white than anything. But we're gonna add in then some mountains because mountains are nice and pretty. Add a little more water so it's not so dark. But also, in order to make it not so dark, you can just not add a lot of paint. So just do a tiny, tiny bit of paint at a time. Don't glob it on and make it real thick and dark. You can make your mountains, if you want to make the mountains even purple, that's okay. Or if you want to make them a different color, that's fine too. Okay. We're gonna make some hills and mountains, and we'll even add in some trees too later. But this will all be in the background, and then we'll go over and add some trees in here. You can, if you want, I'll bring some paper towel. Or if you have a paper towel you can grab. You can even blot off. If there's way too much water, you can kind of blot and dry it off a little bit. Just be careful that you don't smudge your painting into something that you didn't want. Or sometimes it gives a nice texture if you want that type of a texture. So you can kind of go like this, dry off, see some of the places that you don't want the paint, or if there's too much. Sometimes just be careful. If you have way too much paint on your paper towel, then it'll smudge and smear into the blank spaces that you haven't done yet, and you might not want that. Okay? So then we're gonna start adding in the base of the church. I'm just gonna do a few little lines here to do some shadows. And we're gonna make a little church door. You might want a smaller brush than this. This is a little bit bigger. Oh, a little smudge. We're gonna add in here just some of the different shadows to the church. We'll do some different layers and designs. All right. We'll add in some more to that. I'm gonna get a smaller brush because this one is not gonna help me. Oops, flying brushes. Okay, so what we're gonna do then is we're gonna start adding in some windows. And in order to do that, we're gonna do some little stained glass windows, I think we're gonna try. Okay, so very lightly, again, the key is always to do light. So you're gonna add a little bit of water. Then we're gonna make some pretty windows, just like on an old little chapel church. I know a lot of them nowadays don't really look like that, but we're gonna make one look like it's gonna be a vintage church. Okay. We're gonna add in we're gonna just do real lightly here, because then we can add in some designs into the stained glass later. But just to get the idea, I'll just do a little bit of color and then I'm gonna go over it later. So it's okay if it's not exactly what you want right now. You can have it be adjusted later on. Okay, and we're gonna make another one just like this. Okay. If you want yours to be, if you want to make a circular one, a big one in the middle here, that's okay too. There's all different types of windows. Just make it look nice and quality. And as long as you're trying, and I want you to actually put the effort in, then that is fine. It can be a little bit different than mine. I just want it to look nice, and I want you to try your best on it, okay? So we're gonna decide then what kind of design we're gonna put in these windows. I'll give you some examples too of different stained glass windows and everything, so you don't have to, if you're struggling to come up with an idea, I'll bring some examples to show you too. But here we'll add in, maybe I'll just make like little flowers or something. We'll make it look like a floral window or different patterns, kind of abstract. Okay, then on the front door of the church here, this is gonna be our front door. We're gonna make it look like it's closed for now, because maybe it's not on a Sunday, so it's a weekday. So we're gonna add in a little wreath to put on the door. So you can get some green. We'll start lightly with green and then we'll add in some other colors. But you're just gonna start off with this very light circle first. It's all right if it's bumpy, because wreaths, obviously, they're gonna have their little branches too. So it does not need to be a perfect circle. It's okay if it's a little smudged, because you're gonna add in all these little branches. And you can add in some extra water too to make it lighter, because then we're gonna go back over it. Just like here. All right, just like that. And we're gonna kind of make it look just like a little wreath. It's gonna feel like you're just scribbling, but you're just gonna kind of make it a sophisticated scribble so that it's not too sloppy, but that it still looks kind of like a wreath. You let it dry a little bit again. We'll maybe add in a little bit of brown to make it look more realistic. Just a tiny bit. A few little dots of brown maybe to make it look like there are pine cones in it. Don't go crazy with it though, just a tiny bit so it kind of blends. Do you see how it's bleeding then and it makes it look very abstract? You don't have to make it real obvious. Okay, just a few little brown dots. You can make some darker than others if your paint is starting to dry already, that's fine. You can make some dots. It'll be like the little pine cones or acorns in your wreath. Okay, and then I'm gonna add in just a few little red spots to make it look like little ornaments or berries even. You can do some larger ones for ornaments, different colors, or you can make some little small ones to make it look like they're berries. All right, so we're gonna add in just a few. I don't really want these ones to bleed though, so I might dry it off just a tiny bit. So we're gonna add in some, oh, yep, there, that one bled too much. I think this side is more dry than the other side. So you can see when you don't let it dry, if you don't let it dry, it's gonna do that if you have too much. So if I don't want that, I'm gonna dab it off a little bit, and then I'm gonna go back over with a green. Okay, we're gonna fix that up with a little green, and you can even add in at the bottom, if you wanna add in some black at the bottom to make it more darker, to add a shadow, that would add a lot to your little wreath. Okay, then I'm gonna show you how to do a tree. We're gonna make a little Christmas tree or pine trees on the side to make it look very wintry. So an easy way to do that is you start wherever you want the tree to start, real thin and skinny, and then you just kind of do some zigzags back and forth. If you want it to be a real wide tree, then you go wider. If you want it to be real skinny, then you go skinnier. We're gonna do that first real lightly, and then you're gonna go back and then add in some little branches to it. And then that's gonna give you your own little pine tree. And it kind of give just a few little feathery touches like this. Just like that, real light. And if you make a mistake or if you don't like how much you did, you can always go back and blot it out and dry it off and then go over it again if you make a little mistake. But it's very difficult. I mean, as long as your tree kind of looks like a triangle shape, it'll be fine. Trees don't have to be super perfect. You can add in some brown or black to it if you want it to be darker, which might be nice because it's a little bit light. Depending on what watercolor you have, your green might be too light. So you can add in some black to add a shadow. Just like that. That's nice to add that to make it look a little more 3D. All right. I'm gonna add in a little line here too. This is bothering me. To make the church look a little more three-dimensional. I'm gonna add in some darker lines. Okay. Then what you can do for the sky is up to you. If you want to make it look like the Northern Lights, if you want to do it at sunset or daytime, if you just want to do that. But just keep in mind, whatever you do, if it's nighttime, then you're going to want to make these a little bit more, the rest of this a little bit darker, because it's going to have to reflect that it's at nighttime. If it is daytime, then you're going to make everything a little bit lighter. And if there's a sun, you want to make sure the sun is reflecting on the right side, the proper side. Or if it's a moon, you want to make sure that the shadows and everything are in the right spots also. Okay, so then I will finish this up and I will be with you shortly.